MB News producer Sydney Bowles, and you're tuning in for another edition of our Superintendent Update. I'm here, of course, with the Burlington Public School Superintendent Dr. Conti. Dr. Conti, how are you?
I'm well, Sydney.
Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
So we're going to dive right in. It seems like a busy time. Is that fair?
It is.
It's
January.
Never not
January's a busy month, but
sure.
Yes.
Okay. So first thing, budget probably. Let's talk budgets. I was recently made aware that you all are already working on your list of capital budget requests for May town meeting. We literally just finished up January town meeting, so there's no rest for the weary or the wicked, depending on how you think about it.
Right.
This is not solely in your court, right? There's lots of the school committees involved in this. There are principals who are asking for what they're wanting, right? This isn't fully your thing. However, I am curious how you think about prioritizing all the different capital projects, big building projects, stairway requests and carpets and all the different things that schools want and need.
Well, again, like everything else we do, we start with health and safety. So that's what I would say. If there's a capital request that's linked to health and safety, I think that's everyone's first priority. And I would say with capital budget and town meeting and ways and means, that sort of holds true. Then I would say if there's anything that's coming to the end of its useful life, and with our buildings, that's happening. And then I would say, anything that positively impacts student learning would be sort of the priority of things. We know there's only so much money, and we try to communicate long-term needs as best we can. And then I think we have a track record of taking care of the capital items that are provided through the town's generosity, and so we would just try to make it all work. Again, there's never enough, but again, the town has been incredibly generous, and we just try to put together a plan that makes sense from year to year. People know if they don't get something this year, that hopefully they'll get it the following year. And
so maybe a way to what I hear you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you've got needs, right? There's stuff that's a safety need, and then there's things that are wants this year, and then maybe there'll be needs next year, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, the other piece of it is you've got to balance things that are in that amorphous zone between needs and wants, but are also happening in schools where there are plans for immediate, semi-immediate, long-term repairs, replacements, thinking about Fox Hill and the high school.
Sure.
So when you add in, all right, we've got something at the high school that's kind of a big deal, but there's this question mark of what's going to be going on with the high school, in the future. So what's that component of it?
Well, that's where we have experts who come in and help us. But I think if there's a cosmetic change to the high school, that would be something that we would sort of put off. But even if it takes us 4 or 5 years, 6 years, 10 years to build a high school, you still need to have a working fire alarm. So if we need a fire alarm, it doesn't matter how old the building is, that we would make sure there's a fire alarm system that's in place. So again, if there's an immediate health and safety need at Fox Hill, we're going to address that health and safety need, even though the building may be getting torn down in 8 years, 7 years, 6 years, whatever the time frame is. So I think that's how we would look at things. We did sort of have to think about things a little bit differently, because the school committee or the building committee that is focusing on Fox Hill decided to move forward with 4 elementary schools on 4 sites. So Pine Glen obviously would need to be a viable school for the next foreseeable future anyway. But if that's going to be a school that's going to be kept in use for a longer period of time for the foreseeable future, then we would need to address some of the needs of that building moving forward.
Sure. Okay. Let's check in on those building committees a little bit. I was just checking in on the high school building committee. I know you're not on the selection committee. They were looking at builders to find the architect for that school.
Designers.
Designers. Yes. Excuse me. Thank you. And then what's going on with Fox Hill?
Fox Hill, we have a project manager and a designer that have been in place for a year. That is an MSBA project, so that's a project where we have state as a partner. And like with any partner, we need to check in and we need to get approval. The state's saying we're going to give you tens of millions of dollars. You need to make sure that we stick stick as part of the plan and that we approve the process. That's a very scripted process. So we've recently gone through our initial design and gotten approval of the spaces that have been created from the MSBA, which has been a great sort of first step. We actually have a meeting tonight to talk about the preferred design as it continues to take shape. And then we'll, once that happens, we'll continue to sort of, the designer continues to refine, continues to bring in other community organizations. Again, they've been working with conservation just because of the property anyway, but they'll start to bring in more formally, I'm sure the planning board will be brought in more formally. We've already been working with police and fire just to make sure there's safety components built into the building and everything else like that. So the design will just take a much more structured form. And eventually, once all that is approved, then you actually have documents that you can go out, and then a builder can bid on the project.
Okay.
So then the builder comes in last.
Okay. It is such a mammoth undertaking, all of the components that you're talking about, all of the decisions that need to be made, all of the stakeholders that need to be brought in. Is there a part of it that you can say right now, in January 30th, it's exciting, something that you're seeing in the documents, that you're seeing in the plans, that you're just genuinely stoked about?
Well, again, my role, again, initially would be with my staff to make sure that the program is detailed well. So the program, the building ultimately has to support the program that we offer. And so that's really, I would say, my involvement initially in any expertise that I have. I don't know buildings, I don't know design, but the programs we have worked long and hard on developing. So the feedback that we got from the MSBA, that they thought we offered high quality programs in our community. Again, they build schools all over the Commonwealth, so that they complemented our program and that they supported the space needs that we were requesting that reflect those programs, I think was sort of an indirect compliment, I think I would say. So that was positive feedback that we received. And again, it's as simple as saying, for the high school program document, which we are developing, this space is part of the high school, may not be connected to a high school program directly, but it's space that we would want to have if we're building a new high school, to make sure that part of our program is that we have community space for a community, for a cable, local cable access TV, right? So, so we would want to make sure that this space is replicated if we weren't to renovate this building or to build new. So again, the part of our program, then the building needs to reflect space that that would allow for this to allow for you to have space moving forward.
Yeah. Well, as an outsider, I think it is very exciting to watch these develop. So let's transition a little bit. I want to check in on a couple of other things. It's been about 6 months since Assistant Superintendent Dr. Lisa Chen came on board. I'm really curious how your working relationship is going. How's it been to watch her adjust to Burlington?
Again, it's been great. So part of me thinks it's been 6 years, and part of me thinks it's been, I can imagine 6 months. She brings just a tremendous amount of energy, wonderful work ethic. I think she's taking on a lot of things, really trying to make sure that she doesn't, this is a marathon, not a sprint, making sure that we are moving forward in a way that brings everyone along. Because what do they say? If you're a leader and you're out walking and no one's following you, then you're not leading anybody. So she's done I think a really good job making sure that she's developed relationships as a priority in the district, as a priority. I know she's getting out in the community as well. So I've been impressed with her ability to do many things at once, again, from a foundation of developing those solid relationships. I think our working relationship is, has also been attended to and is developing, and I trust her, the judgments that she's making with curriculum and learning, and I think we are philosophically very well aligned, and that was my hope when we had interviewed and talked about bringing her on here. So again, I think it's been very positive.
That's great to hear. Pivoting again, it's been a couple of months since we got an equity audit on the school, and right. I know you've been working with Dr. Chris Taylor to sort of analyze those results, understand them a little bit more deeply. I'm curious if you could talk about what that's been like and maybe what your takeaways have been from those conversations.
Again, I've been working with Dr. Chris Taylor from an organizational perspective. I've also been doing some individual work as well. So I think that that equity lens or the blind spots we all have is something that we need to continuously work on. But I think the work with Dr. Taylor has been, it's been great to have a voice outside the district to help us see the sort of what the report found and the direction of it. And I think that you know, her perspective at the table is an important one that we need to sort of listen to as well. But the conclusion, everyone's sense of urgency around this is different, right? So for some people, you're never moving fast enough. For some, you're always moving too fast. So it was important to, I think, have someone help us talk about what we do next. And I think the priority was that it needs to be moving us in the direction towards more equity. And it also needs to be sustainable. And it needs to be something that outlives sort of all of our presence here. And it's not sort of, there's no magic to this, and it's not something that happens in a flash.
Right.
And sometimes if something does happen in a flash, again, then it's not sustainable moving forward, and you want to sort of build that journey moving forward. And so I think that's really what she's been helpful for us to see, and we've done a lot of root cause conversations. You know, she said the district's intentions can be all positive, but if students aren't feeling the impact of those intentions, then we really need to sort of rethink what we're doing. And I think that's basically been where she's taken us, is our focus really needs to be on student impact, not necessarily on the journey of, again, all the adults need to sort of make growth as well, but our objective should be that students are feeling the impact of our efforts.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I feel like as a reporter, having covered different communities, I feel like I've talked to so many administrators and elected officials who talk about undertaking significant reports like the equity audit, and then they go sit on a shelf somewhere. That's the fear, right? And it sounds like that's not what's happening here. It sounds like there are folks in the administration who have really sat down with this information and thought about it in different ways and worked to integrate it. So that's neat to see.
No, right. And then for all of us to recognize that it might be changes 10 years from now but result from some of the foundational work that we're doing now. So it can't be, again, it's not something that we'll say, okay, in 3 months we'll be done.
Right.
And I think that's, we have to have a change in the mindset of that, and it has to be all of our work collectively. And again, the goal shouldn't be about our experience. The goal should be about, again, certainly part of our experience, but ultimately it should be about the student experience and making sure that they have access to our quality programs that we just talked about, and that the outcomes are based on their efforts, not necessarily on any sort of other aspects of the experience.
So from things not being sprints but being marathons to things being sprints, we have athletes here at BHS. That was a transition. I don't know if it worked.
It did.
I was working on something there. There are athletes right now who are seniors who have been working on their athletic careers, their academic careers here, and are now going on to different things. We've had Charlie Andriola going on to Endicott College, Ava Schenk-Davis from gymnastics going on to Cornell, other athletes as well, other folks are starting to make their decisions. Specifically for the athletes, I don't know, what does it feel like for you to watch these students go off and make their decisions and head on to their next things?
Again, I'm really proud of their efforts. I'm proud of the coaches. I'm proud of, again, their families must be so proud. I know it's a culmination of a lot of hard work that I recognize, so that's would be the positive of it. A part of me also makes me feel really old because you know, having been a part of some of those same conversations 100 years ago, it's a reflective experience too, and you say, oh wow, I remember sort of making that commitment, and so that's always really interesting. And I'm just always amazed at how much more pressure there is because of how fast information travels now, because of social media, because of everything else, that you know, people of my generation didn't really have to deal with. You just sort of had those conversations by letter, right? So it was a different time. But I'm so proud of the kids, and again, recognize that again, that doesn't happen overnight either. There's many years of hard work, dedication, again, coaching, and their efforts and the support of their family that culminate in that opportunity. So again, just proud of them.
Well, we will leave it there for now. Dr. Conti, thank you very, very much for being here. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure, and I'll see you in February.
Sounds good. I'm Sydney Bowles. This has been another edition of your Superintendent Update. Thanks for watching.